When an interdimensional rupture unravels reality, an unlikely hero must channel her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers from the multiverse as the fate of the world hangs in the balance. That's right, we're talking about everything, everywhere, all at once, today on Geeks with Kids.
But
I was never good enough to be one of those guys.
Oh, you mean this guitar? I'm so embarrassed. Let me
I wouldn't pull it up if you didn't know how to use it.
And then you start playing Wonderwall, right? That's how those parties work, right? They're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know anything.
Oh, FYI,
Maybe.
Eric, I dropped the underscores.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I must have missed that. That's okay.
Well,
I will fix that.
It's recent. I did it like 2 weeks ago.
I'll update it.
I haven't been on in a month, so
when we go to what's good, because we are here talking on Geeks with Kids. So sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. We come on whenever we want. Podcasts about geeky things. Still debating that name change. I don't know. We'll see. Just go straight over to GWK. We're gonna be like IGN.
It worked for KFC.
Yeah, KFC, man. Anyway, joining me today is Dave, Hawk, Steve, and Brent. How's it going, guys? Good. Good.
We broke Steve again.
Life is suffering.
I would say this is fine.
The cake is a lie.
The cake is delicious, though. At least
The cake is a fucking lie.
life's good. It's a little dark right now, but
it's a little bit. No, well, at least in this dimension, Hawk just playing guitar the whole time. My God, man,
Just great.
My God, man.
I love it. I love it.
I
Keep
feel
doing
like
it.
audio. Actually, I feel like all
Please.
listeners would eventually get very.
I think I have to put it away if I'm gonna actually make some meaningful contributions.
We'll see how meaningful we can, because as I was saying to Hawk before we went on air, I was like, I don't even know how we're gonna talk about this movie because there's so much. We're talking about everything, everywhere, all at once. The A24 film that has just been
Goddamn A24. All their fucking movies like put me in like a fucking every single. I love their movies, guys.
Yep.
But I love them in a way that puts me in a state. So don't watch these.
That's
movies.
all their movies. Yeah,
They're brutal. This was the most pleasant. Like, fuck. Okay, just talk, man. I don't even know what I'm talking
so we're talking about everything, everywhere, all at once. The film that they just announced was their biggest earner out of all of their films.
Yeah, it's doing really well.
Yeah,
it just beat Uncut Gems, which was their previous very big box office.
Yeah, what had
performer.
Adam Sandler in it being serious. So
yeah, which was also a quite good film, if not a little bit depressing. By a little bit, I meant quite a bit depressing.
A little bit depressing. A24, your answer for depression. Jesus.
Yes, so we're gonna talk about that, but before we do that, we talk about what we're liking right now. What's good. Let's start with Brent. What's good? I'm gonna end with Steve because he's shaking his head. Well, unless you have a what's bad.
Just front and center, get it out of the way. The return of Kids in the Hall.
Fuck yes.
Oh my God.
Okay,
And just and not even just that, like, they came out with 8 new episodes, whatever. It's like they never left. Like they are just as strong comedically now, and that was my concern going into it. Was in today's climate, how toned down are they going to be? And then when 3 minutes into the first episode, they are just dicks out on screen for 5 minutes. I'm like, thank you, boys. Thank you.
Of one of their classic sketches.
Jump up and down. Jump up and down.
Police department.
And the way that they were able to like bring back old characters, create brand new ones, but without oversaturating the old ones, and bring back ones like the Eradicator. Like, where the fuck did that come from?
I did not expect that.
Well, they get it. They get it. That's a thing. They've always got it, right? Like that. That's what's nice. I totally agree with you, Brent.
And some of the new characters and sketches they came up with were like I feel like I've known them for years, like the restaurant sketches with the Donnie, Ronnie, and or whatever. Like, oh my God,
it's a tart.
It smells delicious.
Did
you
Dave
wash
Foley
your hair before you poop?
I tweeted about it, and Dave Foley liked my tweet.
Yeah,
Adam or anything. I was like, oh,
the kids in the hall liked my tweet, my Facebook post about it. I was like, well, I guess.
Oh.
There it is. I'm good.
Feels good.
The actress.
Well, they didn't like any of my tweets, but I did get to work with Mark McKinney once.
Nice.
So.
For
He was in Slings and Arrows.
Nice, yeah.
Very cool.
Avasarala and Kids in the Hall both have like tweets of mine. I'm like, okay, I'm good. Done. I can just go. There's also a documentary on Prime called Kids in the Hall Comedy Punks. It's a 2-part documentary about them getting together and then them failing and then them coming up to this point in their lives. It's really
neat.
good.
Okay.
It just came out
Actually, like
a couple days ago.
Just before we came on, I was watching the would have been a second yum as I'm watching the Judd Apatow George Carlin documentary.
Shit, I didn't know that was out.
Just came out a couple days ago. I'm halfway through the first part of it right now, and it's very, very in depth.
And I will get into that right now. So you guys
it's
can keep
on
talking. Netflix.
what
Prime?
the fuck is it on? No. What's the HBO one?
Oh,
Crave.
Crave.
Thank you.
Canada, yeah.
Crave. Yeah, cool. Cool. Is it a series or is it just a movie?
They have it listed as a series, but it's only 2 parts. Like it's 2-hour episodes. So
I guess that they did that with the Kids in the Hall Comedy Punks. It's 2 parts as well. So it's them forming and then them getting canceled after season 1 of Kids in the Hall, and then from that point onwards till now, which I think is hilarious. That's a great way to break it up. So good. You know what I didn't realize is that when they did the live tapings, because I wasn't old enough to go see the live show, was they had the band playing the whole show, like
The Shadowy Men.
the
from
Shadowy Men. Yeah,
Planet.
they were there, and they played the theme song for them live, and then they would play music throughout the shows. I think
That's
fucking
amazing.
awesome.
I got to see them open for Spirit of the West like years and years ago.
Nice.
That
Cool.
is a very Canadian.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but I
And
mean,
for
whatever.
third act, Great Big
Whatever.
C.
Oh,
I've seen
Oh.
them too. Yeah.
And if you want to leave, Big Wreck is closing it. Oh,
just
Cool.
wave hi to Alan Thicke.
But
on
you
your
know
way
what?
out.
You know what? Before I go, I just
You're
want
gonna
to
be
say
last.
it. Yeah, it has been refreshing though, the Canadian elements of Kids in the Hall. Anyway, I'll let you guys.
No, for sure. Like, my wife Meg has not watched Kids in the Hall at all. Like, this was her first exposure to it, and she thought it was really good. Even though it got very raunchy really fast, she really enjoyed it because
That's
there's,
good.
There's
That's good to
nothing
know.
really like it on TV, and like the sketch comedy she's seen like SNL is not anything like them. Like they're
Yeah, for sure.
it was such a different time in that, it's like they really embraced absurdist humor more so than like comedy is allowed to nowadays.
well, like if you look at SNL, it's very like of the day, like
Topical.
it's topical. So I think even like if you like, I started watching season 1 because it's all on Prime.
Boy, that first episode got some real rough spots, doesn't it,
but
Eric?
it's still good. There's some makeup issues for some of the characters.
Yeah, a little Justin Trudeau action.
But still very good. It still works except for certain parts. Yeah. I love them. I think they're great. Let's go to Dave. Dave, what are you liking right now?
Well, other than being incredibly busy with school, looks a new season of Apex just dropped, and I've been playing around. I came back, I played 2 games, and won both immediately. So I should probably retire now.
Yeah, do it.
Yep. KD 100,000.
Yeah, I don't know. I got no. That would be my KD's under 0.5,
which is pretty good in general.
No, it's
actually.
not. It's not.
Isn't it?
Not,
That's
no.
not 0.5.
Not
It's like
even for
the
a battle
general
royale.
normal person.
No, because remember I'm in like Wood League. They actually added, so this season they've now got a new, there's like bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and then they go into like masters, and then they have after masters there's Apex Predator. But now there's below bronze, which is rookie, which
That's where I'd be. My KD is macaroni.
yeah.
I like this KD.
I'm so hungry now.
But like new season, there's a new character. They've changed around the loadouts, like weapons and stuff like that. So it's fun. Brought some old guns back and took out some of the newer ones. It's fun. It's
Cool.
fun. And next week in 8 days, new Crusader Kings DLC drops that I probably won't have time to play.
Nice.
Wow.
Speaking of food, Steve, I was last Tuesday. I was like, oh, there's no D&D. We're still trying to figure out when we're gonna play. But I had Korean chicken. I was like, this would be the perfect day to play D&D and show Steve the Korean chicken I'm having because it's fucking delicious. It was delicious.
Look, is there going to be enough suffering on this episode? You don't need to contribute to that.
You need pokey like me. Pockies. I'm having the strawberry kind. All right, Hawk.
I haven't really been watching too much new stuff. I'm in the middle of an Expanse rewatch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why not? Because it's fucking amazing.
Yeah. course. And it's so much to garner from every rewatch that you do.
Have you done a rewatch before? Because you got into it pretty late.
Yeah, I've done the entire series at least twice over already. Except for season 6. I haven't done my rewatch on that.
Yeah, I haven't done that one yet. Although it's well good, like fucking amazing season.
So I guess there was 2 things I had. The first was the soundtrack for the Alex Garland film Men has dropped, and it's same producers Jeff Barrow and Ben Salisbury in that. It is great.
Okay.
Yeah. Feel like a mix of hymnal noises and basically just eerie sounds and that. Then
that actually sounds really good for me. I've been really enjoying the Alex Garland soundtracks.
That movie just came out, didn't
probably
it?
shouldn't be related, but it is. So yeah, that's pretty.
That
cool.
movie came out on Friday, didn't it? It's
brand new. Yeah, it's brand new. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I've
That's an
always
A24 film, Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know. Fucking A24. God damn it. And then Northman isn't an A24 film, except that it's by a guy who's done. Yeah, no, he did 2 other A24 films first, right? So
right, The Witch and
The Lighthouse.
Oh, Lighthouse.
Oh shit! I didn't realize that X was an A24 film as well.
X is too.
Yeah.
And whatever the sequel's gonna be called.
It's all A24. God damn it.
Have you guys seen X? X is really good.
It was
I haven't
great.
seen that yet.
No.
It was an awesome throwback to like the 80s slasher style movies and that.
I'll tell you about it later, Hawk.
It's gonna be real funny when I add the films X and Men on my watch list.
His search history is very weird. What was the other thing?
What's another one of the movies? Uncut Gems. I need some Uncut Men X
gems.
The other thing I want to throw out was we're halfway through the new season of Barry. It's been confirmed that there's a season 4 coming, and this season has been fantastic in that, especially.
I was about to ask, no spoilers, how is it so far? I only watched the first episode and I'm waiting to binge it all at the end.
So far, the episode 2, the very end, had such a dark ending in that I couldn't help but laugh in that because Bill Hader just played the shit out of it.
Yeah,
it is great. This season was Barry starts out very unfocused after the events of last season. He's taking contracts from basically like the dark web and that, like housewives who want their husbands killed.
I caught that from the first one. Yeah.
Nice.
That's amazing. I still haven't not seen much of that show. I've only seen the first season, so I will watch more. I will. I don't have Crave, so it's hard.
Yeah. You will, just for the second season alone, the episode with the Taekwondo daughter. Oh my god.
The Taekwondo man and
that's enough to pique my interest.
That episode is one of the single greatest episodes of television ever made.
Hawk, I don't know if you know this, but the Witch Queen DLC is on sale right now. So I'm just saying, Witch Queen, if you want to play Destiny again, I don't know if it's on sale on PlayStation, but it is on PC. It just popped up in my email. I was like, oh, I wonder if it's going on sale everything because the new season's starting tomorrow.
If it's half off, maybe I'll consider.
I doubt they'll do half off until the next big DLC, right?
I think I heard that they're taking away old content now too.
They've been doing that for a while. Yeah,
they have to basically.
It's too big or something. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Big.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyway.
Okay.
All right, Steve.
Oh, wait. I thought I was going last. Okay, it's okay. I mean,
well, I can. No, you know what? I'll go before you. Let's go.
Okay, all right.
So I've been playing a lot of Jurassic World. What the fuck is that name? Dominion. No, Jurassic World Evolution 2. It's a new game. It's on Game Pass, so I started playing
Game Pass, yeah.
It's a park management thing where you build a park and make sure your dinosaurs live, and they'll occasionally escape and eat your guests and stuff. It's fun.
You're supposed to build the park and fill it full of customers and then release them. I mean, that's the purpose of the game.
Pretty much. But it's really fun. I've been playing that. I've been also playing a lot of Rogue Legacy 2, which is hard and fun. I really very much enjoy that game. And is there anything else that I've been enjoying? I've enjoyed that I'm the only one out of my family, there's 5 of us, that didn't get hand, foot, and mouth disease the past week. So That was
it's a
fun.
disease that mainly affects like little children and people with compromised immune system.
Which is funny because Megan never gets sick. So when she got sick, I was just like, okay, I guess I'm gonna stay away from. Well, she's with the kids.
That's why I'm so happy that we have COVID in our household right now, and so it's been contained to one person thus far. None of the rest of us have caught it. So
crazy. Yeah.
Well, and I'm at school and nobody wears masks.
Awesome.
Nobody. So I'm like, I'm going to be in this room for 3 hours. Is a mask going to help me when no one else is wearing a mask? Is there?
At one point, you just feel that they all turn and stare at you all at once.
Oh my god! How long are your classes? Only an hour at least, though.
What? No, I have a 3 hour.
3 hours.
Oh, you're 3 hour one.
Yeah.
When the hell did you go to college, Eric?
I don't remember. It was like 18 years ago.
Most of my classes are 2 hours. I have one class that's 3 hours twice a week, but we have blended learning, which is basically you have class, but we're not going to pay the teacher. So the teacher isn't there. So you don't have to go anywhere. Just do it. Just go work for 3 hours at home. Like, what?
Weren't classes an hour, Hawk?
They're hour chunks.
Actually, there
were they always 2? God, I don't remember university.
Listen, when
it was a
Hawk went to
2-hour class, we would get like a
nickel to ride the bus. Okay.
I had maybe 2 classes.
And the onion on the note was the style.
Called it a B. When you go, give me 2 B's and a.
I had maybe 2 classes that were an hour, one that was like 90 minutes, and the rest were all 3 hours or like 6 to 8 hour labs.
The only ones I remember being long were the night classes. I remember those being like 2 or 3 hours.
I don't have night classes.
Film classes were always long, excessively, because you had to watch a whole movie.
Those are always the night classes for me, right?
Yeah, but it contained it to like one session per week, so that was the whole point. Yeah.
I honestly don't remember. That's cool. But anyway, Steve, you get to end this up.
Yeah, probably would have been better if you ended it. So, what's my yum or my arg or whatever? Okay, I'll bring us all down. So I just discovered that Magic the Gathering is going to do a Baldur's Gate expansion, and I'm just like, God damn it! Fuck.
Don't worry. I genuinely don't worry, because the other set that I still have behind me did not sell well at all. So just give it like 6 months; it'll be discounted. You don't have to buy it now. It'll be
okay.
Cheap.
There's also
the other one.
However,
the new D&D starter kit that has the little miniatures that are based on the 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
God damn it. Fuck. So on that note, I found out, so the last time they did like a D&D set, they had like what do they call it? Secret Lair, and they had like cartoon cards. Like they had cards like a special set.
Oh god,
from
Dave
the
whipped it out.
So good. Yeah. I've got a whole bunch of those.
I haven't even opened all of these limited edition boosters yet.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Cares.
I know. No, the same as me. I didn't even play it.
And you have to buy commander decks to get all the other. Like I didn't get Dritz Duerden and stuff like that. You got to buy commander decks if you want to get Wolf.
We're nerds. We're fucking nerds. Anyway, in August though, guys, Warhammer 40K, Magic the Gathering. Holy shit. I'm so pissed off at both companies. I don't know what to do. I'm just
also,
like,
next year is a Lord of the Rings
I kind of need to buy it. Well, I don't care about the Lord of the Rings set, but I mean, Blood for the Blood God. Like, oh my god, as a card, fuck. And then I watched the movie we're going to be talking about today, which that's my anti-yum. Yeah, that fucked me up.
Anti-yum. That was so
good. This was worse than the Black Mirror episode you guys put me through.
There's a new season of Black Mirror coming.
Yes, there is.
I don't care.
Yes, you
I've had my Black Mirror. So yeah, so that's my everything. So there we go.
All right, let's do a couple bits of news just because I want to get through this fast so we can talk about this movie that sort of blows my mind. First part of the news: Daredevil is returning to Disney Plus as a new series. It is going to be from Covert Affairs creator Matt Corman and Chris Ord.
Okay, cool.
That's fucking awesome. The cast has not been formally announced, but we know who Daredevil is obviously already because it's an MCU project.
They don't dare recast him.
No. He's
Well, it's too late now.
Put him in a movie. Why would they recast him?
Spoiler: he showed up in the MCU. Well, kind of
that's MCU. Yes, those Spider-Man movies are MCU.
Yeah, but not the ones that follow. So
maybe. Yeah.
We don't know yet.
And on second piece of news, on May 19th. Famed Greek composer Vangelis, known for his amazing scores for Blade Runner 2049, Chariots of Fire. He passed away at the age of 79. His music is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I actually did not know that. So
yeah. So
did you also know that the guy who designed the X-wing and a bunch of other ships just passed too? He was also 90. Colin Cantwell.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's sad.
I mean, these people aren't young.
No. But it's still.
But they had a huge impact on
our life, like
music design, like so many things.
Right.
I can't think of anyone that doesn't know that Chariot's of Fire. Dun, dun, dun,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Bum, bum,
boom, boom. There was a teaser for the newest Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, and it shows some...
Oh, it's a two-parter? Fuck.
Yes, it is a two-parter.
I don't even know if... Is this the last two, or they just...
God,
This is it. This is... Apparently, they want to just end the series.
I don't care if they keep making
one.
Mission Impossible movies. I just want Tom Cruise to stop being in them.
Yeah, like I would love to see Jeremy Renner. I hope he comes back in these movies.
He was supposed to take over after Rogue Nation or the one before that.
Ghost Protocol.
That's it.
I like that movie.
Yeah. When Alec Baldwin took over. Yeah.
Haley Atwell is in this one, so it's nice to see Agent Carter show up.
Agent Carter.
I don't know what it's about, and I'm sure we'll find out when that comes out.
Does anyone know what any of them are about?
No.
The first one's about the knock list.
To me, actually, asking me to describe the plot of a Mission Impossible movie is like listing an episode of Cheers and asking me to tell you what season it was in. Like, it's impossible.
Well,
it's like, I remember that. I vaguely
no, because if you mention, I don't remember her character's name, but Olivia Newton-John, it's like the first 2 seasons, right?
Except that Olivia Newton-John was never on it, but
who am I talking about then?
Shelley Long.
I don't know.
Shelley Long.
5 seasons.
Listen, I was 4 when I watched that show.
So there are also 3 TV trailers I want to talk about. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but CBS released the trailer for True Lies, which is based on the James Cameron TV show.
What?
Yeah, and
really?
It's produced by James Cameron, so I don't know.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything anymore.
It looks so bad.
It says produced by because he created True Lies. He gets an automatic producer role because he created True Lies. That's why.
He's the executive producer. Yeah.
It just looks like if 2 characters from Beverly Hills 90210 suddenly went on spy missions together. It just looks so horribly written and boring and awful and. Fuck it.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. It was kind of like when Verhoeven did when 90210 people get sent to the front to fight against alien bugs and Starship Troopers. I mean, that worked out.
That was a good movie,
as far as I'm concerned. So, but
fair.
Yeah, but that wasn't a TV show, which is just going to be a TV show. That was a movie, right?
Fair, very fair.
We're not talking about Halo today because Halo, the TV show, is just if you've seen a TV show. You've already seen Halo. It's just another fucking TV show.
I don't.
No. Look.
There's nothing special. It's just another TV show.
No. That's too cynical. I will say I called the Halo thing before, but I didn't say anything because I knew they hired people who didn't have a fucking clue about Halo. And what are you going to get when people don't know anything about the show or the setting? You're going to get this. You're going to get this. But that's not necessarily the way it has to go, right? Like, I mean, it's taken 10 years now, and they actually have a decent Star Trek show. It took them 10 years, but they finally got there. So with Halo, it's possible it'll take them 10 years.
So Halo, whatever. It was fine. All right.
No, it's not fine.
It was fine. It was fine for people. For people who don't know Halo.
Fan. I didn't even like
it's not Halo. It's not fucking Halo.
Wait.
God, I can't wait till we talk about the movie.
The last episode had the worst CGI I had seen on TV at all.
Bad.
And anything I've ever seen.
And Eric watches Doctor Who.
No, it's way worse than Doctor Who. Doctor Who's CGI is actually pretty good.
Because it was like episode 5 had like a pretty decent looking battle scene that was not Halo lore accurate at all, as I understand. But it was a cool fight.
Yeah.
It looks good.
This one, they had first-person sequences that looked worse than the Doom movie in 2006.
Doom was good.
That
sequence was fucking good.
That sequence was really good, but the one they did in Halo, terrible. Oh my God, the CGI battle. And you know how to make a sky look good? Don't make it just gray without any clouds. I'm just like, why does the sky look bad? I
think part of the problem is that probably had to be a partly practical set because they had at least one actor on that set. And they're like, oh, we got to do the rest in CGI. But it should have just been an entirely CGI set and made the actors look bad is what they should have done. Whatever.
Anyway, let's not talk about that. It's terrible CGI. I don't understand it.
No one enjoyed it, is what I understood. No one enjoyed it.
That was HBO. No, Paramount. Paramount has the money. And Steven Spielberg has the money to spend on CGI.
No, the problem is all the money went to Maverick, the Top Gun Maverick. So
anyway, so ahead of its season 3 launch on June 3rd, the boys have released a fake trailer for their movie Dawn of Seven. The what was it cut? The something cut. They to make fun of the Zack Snyder cut. It is fucking hilarious. I don't know if you guys have seen this trailer.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
That's a fun idea though.
It's so overly like serious, like a Zack Snyder trailer. It's fucking hilarious.
Nice.
And then the CW, in the wake of canceling everything on its slate, has released a trailer and photo for their Supernatural prequel series, The Winchester, which is about Dean and Sam's parents, I guess hunting monsters, but that doesn't make sense based on Supernatural lore.
Look, okay, guys.
No, mom's family was a bunch of hunters.
Yeah, but the point was the dad didn't know that beforehand. But this series looks like they're getting together and hunting monsters together, and Sam's narrating it. Oh no, Dean.
I'm pretty clueless about this sort of thing because I never watched Supernatural, and I was lucky enough to attend a few Comic-Cons over the years. Not anymore, but back in the day, I was able to come to a few, and it was hilarious because every single year, the Supernatural lineup was like fucking around the entire convention center. And there was always a Teen Wolf free Wi-Fi. And so I don't know what the deal is with Teen Wolf and Supernatural, but the two things were present in the 3 or 4 Comic-Cons I attended, and that's all I know.
They don't have super huge audiences, but what they have is rabid audiences.
Supernatural
Supernatural was big every year. But that was the thing. It always amazed me because I always thought, oh yeah, isn't Supernatural like in its 10th year? And it was just like every year there was still Supernatural.
15 years. Yeah.
So I'm impressed. That's great. That's great for Supernatural. I'm not surprised they're doing a prequel thing. Why not, right?
I'm watching the last 2 seasons right now because I watched all of them, and it's still like as a Supernatural fan, I enjoy it. It's still pretty good.
Cool.
It's the closest thing we kind of have to like the X-Files. In a lot of ways, right? It was like it was a Monster of the Week show, right?
Yeah,
like
it's a good show. It never pulled me in to want to watch the entire thing, but it's one of those, if it's on, I'll watch it, enjoy it.
I think I watched 8 seasons.
It's not a terrible show.
But after season 6, you felt that, like, because Eric Kripke left Supernatural, and obviously he's now doing The Boys. But you could feel like the shift in the show when he left. Although there were still good parts. It's just like I can't watch 22 episodes a year for I don't know what for
10 years.
Yeah. Because it's just more TV, you know. It's just more
Harkroff is in the chat. 10 half decent minutes of action and 440 minutes of contrived drama. He's talking about Halo, isn't he?
Harkroff has very strong feelings about Halo being a lifelong.
I know. I didn't want to say anything to Harkroff because I could tell he was really excited.
He
but
agrees
I was like,
with me about the skies. He called it
Solar
3 skies.
This is gonna be fucking Discovery, except for Halo fans, which is to say they didn't actually give a shit.
Oh, apparently retconned after the season 5 finale.
The parents.
The union of the parents was a whole planned thing. But I don't remember the dad knowing about. Anyway, that's not. Well, we'll find out, I guess, or I'll find out if I finish the series. So, for you guys, I was debating doing something different. Hold on, before we get into the movie. I'm gonna.
For audio listeners, Eric is turned away from his microphone.
Yep, and
he is slowly taking off his shirt.
There's glowing lights.
He's staring at a monitor.
Purple and orange hued.
I'm going to add.
There is smoke coming out of just one of his ears.
Is that a tentacle? I think that's a tentacle.
So.
No, that's a baby Smurf tattoo.
Oh no! What did I do? Fuck me.
He's pulled a chair from out under the wrestling ring.
He's applied a googly eye to the center of his forehead.
So I have you guys here in this little thing in the middle. Do you guys want to see the new Thor trailer?
Oh, yes.
No.
Has nobody watched
this? A share screen?
I'm going to share screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do it right now. Hold on.
When you say the new Thor trailer, you mean the one we all saw before Doctor Strange?
No, the one that just came out right now.
No, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it. You guys watch it.
Plug your
I'm
ears.
not watching this bullshit.
Plug your ears and cover your eyes.
Taking my headphones up.
Pick up your headphones.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Everyone click.
You get more pissed off.
Yeah, we're gonna get. Yeah, let's do it.
Kids, get the popcorn now. Let me tell you the story
It's Cord.
of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod.
Okay, well, I already want this version of the song.
And
Yep.
after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one
Yeah.
and only Thor.
The one and
Oh,
only.
spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been like? 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
My sensing feelings.
Well, you're right. The only ones who gods care about
Oh boy.
Oh shit.
is themselves.
That
Oh my
looks.
god, it's the nun.
All gods will die.
I like it. I like it. It's not CGI. I like it.
I just want to say that was very, very impressive.
The goat
what you
boat.
did back there.
Goat boat.
It's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
We almost saw Russell Crowe's face there.
Almost.
I'm not like.
Oh, Valkyrie's gonna
Oh, there
die,
you
isn't she?
Oh no.
God, I hope not.
Oh,
Worth fighting for.
dude, if this movie's partly in black and white, yeah, they did give a lot away in that trailer.
I take off your disguise and flick.
Flick too hard, damn it!
We help him eventually. Great.
Oh,
I mean, has he been that jacked before? He looks huge.
He was huge there.
Oh, I turned off the wrong thing. Stop streaming. There's the one.
My Lord. Oh God.
Was that good, guys?
Yeah.
Are you hyped?
Yeah,
Nice,
it,
nice,
it
nice.
gave some stuff away, but yeah, it looks real good.
You know, I kind of wish they would actually start trolling us and making action figures that have nothing to do with the fucking movie, because they would sell.
have done that,
I mean,
didn't they?
people would still buy it.
they have done
Well,
that.
They've done that.
But that's the thing, right? The toys keep ruining the movies, right? And I think they should just start making up shit, right?
Well,
I'll tell you what, though, Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher looks fucking sick.
He does look
That
really
looks
good.
fucking sick.
It's not CGI, Steve, if that helps.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I thought it was going to be CGI for sure.
Yeah, me too. I thought they were gonna do the look from the comic. To be fair,
Yeah,
I like this look. He looks really cool.
he looks intimidating.
I like the goat boat. Like I said in the Facebook,
Goat boat.
I saw the
Oh, the
Lego
Lego
set
goat
of the
boat.
goat boat. And I was like, okay. And then they had another thing that said a battle name, and I was like, fuck. I wish I didn't see that. Yeah, but
This is what I'm talking about. They should just start making up stuff. I mean, they would sell so many more toys, right? It's not even about like protecting spoilers. I think it would just be fun for people who buy that shit.
hey Brent, there's
Amy?
there's someone in the chat for you. K Marge.
Oh, there is there?
K Marge is here.
Hello, K Marks.
How's it going? They're here
My
for
returnal people.
they're here for our talk about
I have been because after I watched it, I started talking with like a bunch of people in my channel about it, and everyone else who's seen it had the exact same reaction. And I was like, well, we're going to be discussing it, so get over here and join the chat.
I've been thinking about this. I've told all of you guys that I've been thinking about this movie every day since I watched it the first time.
I didn't even know about it until you sent me the message saying what this week's show was.
We were gonna talk about the
That's
Halo
what,
TV
when you
show.
mentioned it, you were like, because when you said, I was like, what's the topic for the show? And you were like, oh, everything, everywhere, all at once. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? We're talking, it's like no topic.
Yeah,
And you were like, no, it's a new movie. And I'm
It's
like,
right here.
oh, okay.
That's awesome.
And it is fucking awesome. So this movie is by A24. It was just released April 1st, 2022, and it's now on digital release for rental and stuff. like on Steve Plus. But
Can't talk about that.
We've said this many times, Steve, so it's fine.
You can't talk about that.
No, we don't talk about it.
It's like Fight Club.
The
It's like Bruno.
The movie is amazing. It features Michelle Yeoh, Ke Huy Quan. I don't know if I said that right.
Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah. Stephanie Su, Jamie Lee Curtis, James Hong, Jenny Slate, Harry Shum Jr., Andy Lee, and the Marshall Club, which is the fucking awesome YouTubers who are also in, like I was saying, the Hawk earlier, the main three Marshall Club YouTubers were in this movie. They were also in Shang-Chi as the death dealer and a bunch of other guys in there.
Nice.
So it's nice to see that these YouTubers who are self-taught are in this fucking movie as like
very cool
main stunt performers. And God, this movie.
I didn't notice that, so that's very seamless. That's very cool. Nice.
I've been watching their YouTube videos just because their acrobatics are so fucking good, like so precise and so well done. Like, like you don't see anything like that on YouTube. So as soon as you see it, you're like, "Fuck, I'm a fan of this." And then you see them on TV starting to show up in movies. You're like, "Oh God, you're there."
That's
and
next
you're
level.
there.
That's
That
next
reminds me
level.
of something, Steve. I probably sent you a time loop video a while ago about a martial artist. Do you remember that? Where like every day he wakes up and he keeps getting his ass kicked, then he has to like learn how to like fight.
Oh shit! I think
So he
I
stops
did
getting
watch
his ass
that, and
kicked.
I've actually forgotten.
And then when it
now.
ends, you
I gotta
realize the
rewatch
guy he keeps ending up like fighting is also in a time loop, and they made a sequel to it.
Oh yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I remember you talking about that a while back.
Showed it to us when we did the time loop thing, right?
I really didn't
Rope a
want to
dope.
go back
Yeah,
into a
that's it.
time loop, but after this movie, I might have
good.
to. I don't know. Thanks, guys.
This is the time loop.
Well,
Steve.
it's not really a time loop. It's
know.
more of a dimensional.
I
What does
know.
IMDb say? An aging Chinese immigrant is swept up in an insane adventure where she alone can save the world by exploring other universes, connecting with the lives she could have led. That's not bad. It's not bad.
It's actually very accurate. Yeah, I like that.
Let's do a TLDR, like 2-3 minute. What did we think of the movie without spoiling it before we get into spoilers? Dave, let's start with you.
You guys are gonna love this. I kind of don't care. It wasn't for me, and I liked some contrivances in it, but I was like, it was all right, I guess.
You know what, Dave? David. That's good for you.
It didn't resonate me with
That's
on
fair.
any level.
No,
but there
I'm
are contrivances that I really enjoyed.
Totally fair.
I'm so not surprised by you saying that because
me
I
neither,
knew
actually.
as soon as
That's
how I
great.
felt
That's
about
great.
it, I was like, Dave is going to be the opposite. Because Dave and I have we are just polar opposites when
I
it
think
comes to
that's
movies.
great. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll shut up.
Well,
Like we'll talk about. I'll explain the contrivances I liked later. But like that's all I was like, yeah, okay, like.
All right. Well, I do want to do a more conversational one because I don't even know how to broach the topic of this movie because it's so much. There's so much.
I have no idea.
Let's go with Mr. Metal Sweater himself, Brent. What did you think of the movie?
I can't even really. I couldn't even come up with 3 sentences to say about it after I was finished. I was like utterly speechless after watching the movie.
You watched it really
and
late
I think
at
the,
night,
the
too.
only thing that I really could say about it was I felt after watching this movie the way I felt after watching The Matrix for the first time, where it was just I was changed cinematically after that.
I agree. At least that's my personal experience. Hawk, what about you?
It is almost Marvel level production, like in filmmaking, and that meets Hong Kong cinema, and that, because I think the basic thing of this movie is that there is a love letter to Hong Kong cinema. There's an Asian film and work, period. And yet it's so much more because you can't really pin it down to just that. It's a generational story. It's about our place in this whole vast, cosmos and possibly verse.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything all at once. I mean, the title really is the most, accurate for any movie I've seen thus far.
I agree. Steve.
Yeah, so what I said to these assholes on this screen at the very beginning was this was worse than the Black Mirror episode. And if anybody doesn't know about that, these punks made me watch Black Mirror with episodes that they thought were fun, and I congratulated them on being in a much better mental state than because I thought all those episodes were completely horrific. and just utterly existentially nihilistically terrible. This was a great movie. I'm going to have to think on it for a while. I feel like it's the kind of movie that I won't have a good response formed for tonight, because it's one that I'm going to have to think about. As I mentioned to you guys beforehand as well, there were a couple other movies that this year really affected me, and this is one that is similar to that, where I'm going to have to really ponder it. But yeah, so unlike David, which I'm not knocking David by this
You can
comment,
make
by the
fun of me.
way.
I don't give a shit.
No. I am honest. This is what I said with Black Mirror. I said I love that you guys can enjoy all that existential.
We're reconnecting.
crisis.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Reconnecting.
Ew, yeah, that's what that little spinning circle on
And
the
we're
screen
back.
is.
There we
Internet
go.
goes
Rick has
brr.
gigabit, but it's not gigabit all at once.
It's like,
Yeah,
here, you can have that gigabit at 4 a.m. when no one's awake.
Yeah.
Until then, fuck you,
But it still
Rogers.
counts. It still counts.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, with the Black Mirror episode, I congratulated everybody, especially David, for having such a great time, because you guys are in a better place than me. Because I'm watching those episodes, I was like, this is.
I think the difference
drama.
though is for Black Mirror for me is absurdist,
Yeah.
and you took it seriously.
Well, here's the thing. I like.
You took it literally. You took it at face value. We're like, no, these are like absurd, over exaggerations of a possible future, and you're like, yeah, that could happen. And like, yeah, it could, but I'd still laugh at it.
I've always liked absurdist stuff, and I will see where this conversation goes. But basically, this was a really mind-opening movie. I think it handled a lot of really sort of touchy elements that are very personal to me, extremely well. And it's a cool movie. I mean, without us getting into it right now, I think it's neat. I think it threads a needle which I didn't think was possible to thread, and that I think is the biggest.
We're reconnecting
compliment.
again.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
What
You
the
said thread a needle, and the thing that came to mind was the scene in, I think it's Ong Bak 2, when Tony Jaa jumps through barbed wire. Because he didn't jump, he didn't dive through like Jackie Chan. He brought his legs up and his feet to his, and he jumped through forward, with his.
Oh,
feet up.
like a dive, like a professional diver.
No, he brought his. Well, yeah, but his feet were touching. He was touching his hands to his feet, and he jumped through forward.
You know what I don't understand?
He jackknifed through a hole.
Is that I don't
through
disconnect
barbed
from you
wire.
guys, but I disconnect from Twitch. That's what I don't understand for this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. We keep having the conversation.
it's because this part's your download's fine. It's Rogers probably doesn't like you uploading, right? You're like, I'd like to upload at 4,000 megabits, and they're like, absolutely not.
And we're back again. Yeah, like I was just saying. Luckily, I record this live, on the fucking thing. So when I upload this, it's just me swearing a lot for a couple of seconds.
It's all good. It's all good.
Before we come back, because
I'm actually being a little too loud, so it's fine.
You're not.
Knocks
You're
against
not.
my wall.
You're not.
apparently.
I turned you down a while ago.
I just.
Oh, okay, good.
I haven't heard Steve at all. He's been muted for weeks, actually.
Which is fair.
Who knows?
Which is very fair. Ryan Johnson, man. Oh, check out my shirt.
I
Can't.
don't.
We can't.
Written and directed by Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
Is that in the Star Wars font?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I love it.
So, as you guys didn't hear on the stream, but Steve had some profound talks right there. But we'll get into it once we get it.
I think every time Steve goes into a really deep hole, and then the stream just goes
Yeah.
the black
Bandwidth
bars
can
just
handle it.
slowly close.
Can't handle it. It's fine. It's fine. It's the story of my life. Story of this movie, which is my life.
I'll be short in my description. And there goes Brent. Brent will be right back.
That's nice. I like that.
So for me, I saw it in theaters. I think I'm the only one that saw it in theaters out of these guys. When I saw the movie and watching it with the audience was great. We all laughed at the right parts. We all gasped at the right parts. But by the end of the movie, I don't think it can be better said than all of us just sort of sat there, just sort of trying to figure out what we had just seen, try to process everything that was happening, because it was amazing. It's probably in my top 5 movies of all time. I've thought about this movie every single day since I've seen it. for various aspects. This is why I'm having a hard time. Like, I couldn't write an outline because
like where do you start? Do you start with the existentialist like aspects of it, woven into this comedy, drama, action?
Yeah, the
sci-fi
generation
adventure
trauma, and then there's the cultural issues that I'm sure me and Steve will get into.
That was my issue going into this. After right after I watched the movie, I was like, oh my god, I wish we were recording right now because I have so much to say about this movie. And then every time I tried to articulate it in my head coming into tonight, I was like, I don't have anything to say.
But I have so much to say at the same time, right?
Anything to say about it? It's other than goddamn.
It's funny because me and Hawk and Brittany have everywhere ever all friends at once or something. I think is our chat group on there, and we just
nice.
Like we've talked about so many different things. Like when I was talking to I watched it with Meg at home afterwards, and she took it from a mother-daughter perspective.
Sure.
And then like her relationship with her mother, and then I took it from the Asian perspective, which I'm sure Steve took it from as well. And then like Brittany took it from a person who's gay, like the perspective of someone having to come out, and then there's all the. It felt like I think she said that it was if she had seen this when she was a teenager, things would have been a little bit better for her. I was like, that's very interesting. I wish she could come on to the show tonight, but she has a workshop.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And the people that I've been talking to about it too, like everyone has something they've pulled from it. Like I have one friend who like she mentioned that the relationship between like how the resolution relationship between the mother and daughter at the end, she said, I've been through that. Like that's a situation I went through with my mother. And like it's just so relatable in so many ways to so many people.
And I
didn't
threaded the needle and did not relate to this movie at all.
And that's a good thing.
It's because you're not an Asian girl going
totally
through puberty.
Well, another thing is like
totally
when it comes to like when it comes to parent stuff, like father-son stuff will break me, as you can imagine. But like stuff with moms, I'm always like, I don't give a shit.
Fair enough.
And stuff with daughters, usually I'm like, I don't care. But with son, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense.
It's actually where I agree with you on this. Or there wasn't anything specific about the movie that I personally related to. But I think it's just because I have so much empathy in me and I'm such an empathetic person that I was able to relate empathetically to everything that was happening. And it was overwhelming by the end. Like to the point where I was in tears by the end of this movie. I was sobbing like a child by the end.
There are some very the resolution between the mother and daughter were well before we get into
the resolution.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the resolution.
But we will get into the spoilers. We will. Don't worry. I wanted to say what K-Marge wrote in the Twitch chat. They wrote, it seemed profound and they felt seen in many scenes. And that they were speechless, but left feeling
left feeling all
the feelings.
Their feelings.
Yeah.
All at once.
Which is, a lot.
Yeah,
so we are going to get into spoilers if we can figure out what we're going to talk about because there is a lot.
Well, do we want to say anything before spoilers, I guess? Or
is there anything do you want to talk about before spoilers? It's amazing. If you can let me
say this. So for Shang-Chi, I made a comment where I said that it's a movie that for Asians or people with Asian children should see, if only because it normalizes just Asian whatever descendants being just like everybody else, which actually isn't a big deal. But if you've been watching the movies, we're the math geniuses or we're the whatever, right? There's stereotypes, that play into it. Yeah. And I think that Shang-Chi at the very least took that step where they were just being jackasses like everybody else in the MCU. And you know what? That's fine. That's a good thing. However, I don't know if I commented on this highly enough. I felt that's fine. I didn't think that in the history of movies, people would look back on that moment and say, oh yeah, Shang-Chi was the movie that actually made a difference. Because I don't think it will. I think ultimately movies that are created later by generations that are just like, oh yeah, we're just like everybody else, will actually make like significant commentary. I think that this movie actually does take it a step further. I think that this movie actually is able to have fun with Asian culture, while at the same time addressing some very real, maybe, I don't know. I literally watched this movie 20 minutes before this podcast and I am suffering and I am in an existential crisis right now. So I don't know exactly what my thoughts are, but I do feel that this is more the movie that I was hoping Shang-Chi would be, which is to say Shang-Chi was very safe and it wasn't offensive, which is a step forward, but it was safe. This is a movie that I think actually does something, and it does it well without being too heavy-handed. It takes a lot of elements that are true without exaggerating them. And so I think that I think if anyone who's ever grown up with any kind of Asian angst should watch it, because I think that it shows that, you know, it's okay, you know. And I think anyone who's sort of caught between cultures or generations, whether you're Asian or not, will be able to take something from it. So there we go.
And this is exactly why I said in the Facebook group earlier that, like, of all people, I wanted you on this show tonight, because it was, I wanted to hear the perspective from you and Eric from
So
the
much
Asian
trauma.
perspective of this movie, but specifically from you, Steve, because I know that you're going to be much more unfiltered about your opinions than I think Eric would be.
No, to be fair, the Filipino culture is different from the Chinese culture. Let's get into spoilers. Before I get into that,
Spoilers.
Spoiler warning: we're going to talk about the movie in all sorts of forms.
Go see it. It's good.
Hop in your guitar and play the spoiler song.
Wait.
Play the spoiler tingle or tingle jingle.
This is the story of a girl.
So I don't know if I mentioned this, but Everything Everywhere All at Once also features 4 Shang-Chi alumni. Michelle Yeoh was in Shang-Chi. Her daughter, what's her name? Stephanie Su was in Shang-Chi. And then Andy Lee and Brian Lee were both in there as well. So the talent from
alumni, man. Yeah,
Harry Shum wasn't in that movie.
He was not in Shang-Chi.
No, he's just like in anything that has to do anything with Asian culture. He's in it these
well,
days.
there's only 6 Asian actors.
If you want to do the crazy rich Asian alumni,
no,
there are a bunch in this movie that were in that movie as well, including Harry Shum Jr. Yeah, let's talk about the cultural thing, Steve. We might as well start off with that, because
it's just damage, man. It's damage.
I feel like there's a lot of that whole. I know we make fun of the whole honor to your family type thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's very real. It is very real. I don't want to monopolize anything, because I honestly have no idea what I'm going to talk about. But some of the notes I wrote down. I'll say this: growing up, one of the movies that I felt really captured my experience, and not to add drama to it, but I guess because there was very little in the way of, Canadian-born, North American-born Asians to relate to, was a movie that starred Sandra Oh called Double Happiness. And I remember watching this movie with my parents, and they didn't get it at all. And I'm not to say that I would recommend it. I mean, it's a Canadian film, so it's got a lot to do with sort of, identity and all those sorts of, Canadian film elements. But I felt that it did do a good job of encapsulating a Canadian Asian experience, in which she ends up sort of being in a relationship that her father doesn't really appreciate. But the film was very fair, because it also expresses the parents' understanding and where they're coming from. So it's not totally, just because my parents, there's more to it, right? And I think that's one of those things where, like, the weight of Asian culture is one of those things that's very hard to explain. Like, there's like this, this centuries old, set of traditions, that weigh on you.
And it's
right?
all in the Eastern Asian, because there's always that sense of, you have to honor your parents, you have to honor your grandparents, right?
Yeah.
It's a very deeply set belief growing up, which my kids obviously don't have for some reason. If you look at Turning Red, there's a speech by the main character, like, pretty early in the movie, where she says, like, the number one rule of your family is honor your parents, because they're the beings that brought you into the world, and all you the least you could do is honor them. And I was like, oh my god, that feels like me growing up.
And on that note, I haven't watched Turning Red yet, because I didn't want to, right? Like, this was exactly the kind of situation this movie Everything Everywhere at Once. I was trying to avoid, which I've successfully avoided because I haven't watched Turning Red, right? And that's what I was going to sort of like comment on, just with that double happiness reference. I mean, the only other movie that I remember back from that time that kind of spoke to this experience of being kind of in, not to say it's like dramatic, like two worlds or anything, but like was the Joy Luck Club. And one of the things that I observed about the Joy Luck Club compared to Double Happiness was Double Happiness actually doesn't have a happy ending. So in case anyone is interested in watching it, I thought it was very genuine because I didn't really know where Asian Canadian born children could end up, really, right? You're part of one world, you're part of the other world. There's not really a nice confirmation or a coming together, like in sitcoms at the end, right? And that was the thing I didn't like about about Joy Luck Club, because it has a very Hollywood ending, even though it does a really good job of setting up all these mothers and daughters relationships. So I feel like that this movie actually achieved something, because I think that it addressed it in a way that, I mean, I wish that was how I would have conversations with my parents. I mean, in fact, I had a very similar conversation with my mom, just like, like literally yesterday. And I was just sitting there kind of nodding, going like, we live in a very different universe, but it's okay. It's okay. And I think that's the sort of the key message of this movie, because I mean, not to add further to the pile of Steve fuel, but I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. I failed the Chinese six-pack, which, if you've never heard of that saying, that's the 3 sciences and the 3 maths. That's what you're supposed to graduate high school from, because you can get 100 in a Chinese six-pack. You can't get 100 with anything else. And I actually failed, not to share too much, but I actually failed in the Chinese six-pack. Now, on the other hand, I did very well in English, did very well in art, but these are not things that are recognized because they're debatable, right? And so, as someone who very much sort of fell outside of that sort of like, guaranteed route of success, this movie definitely really touched me. And I ended up going into English and philosophy in university. And so it's very funny for me to watch this movie about existentialism and nihilism, because that's what this film is. It's pure existentialism and nihilism, and yet I think it pulls what's important about those two philosophies, because people can just be unhappy and just sort of like, oh yeah, life is pain. That's not, no, it can work out, and there are better understandings that you can come to. Anyway, I've been talking too long. No. But I think
it's interesting because I look at it from a different Asian culture, and there's a lot like you don't want to upset your parents. You want to follow this certain route. Like, we all took music lessons, I assume, and all of that because it helped our math. But
I don't even know if that had helped my math. I did the piano and the violin and the music theory. Anyway, go on, Eric. I mean, you actually became a musician, so that's not too bad.
Well, we'll see. But like I look at the conversation between the dot Joy and Evelyn at the end, when she's like, "You are fat," and you don't call, and everything sitting like watching that conversation.
It's very real.
So many chords, because it is real. That's how, I don't know, like if your parents, like the white folk here, how your parents talk to you, but that's a very Asian thing to say.
I could talk to some of these things if you want. Like, I could.
We can. But like it felt very real. But also, as I've gotten older, the part where Gong Gong talks to Becky, and he doesn't actually care that she's gay, is something that I feel like I've come to, like, there's that cultural divide that, or not cultural divide, but there was that generational thing where you're like, you don't want to upset these people. But in the end, I think they're more forgiving than I would think. Like, growing up, I've been able to talk to my parents more and more about different things that I never thought I would be able to talk to them, like, as a younger person. And I think that's a good point, at least from an Asian perspective, in this movie, because as growing up, I would never, we wouldn't talk about that type of thing, any sexuality type things, anything that would upset the social norm. But I found that, as me and my sisters have gotten older, things have been easier to get, just out on the table. Like, it's
dinner.
For sure. No, absolutely.
Except for wearing shoes indoors. You don't do that. No.
What
I
about
mean, that's
sandals,
just a
man?
normal thing. Everyone should. You don't wear shoes indoors. Like that's just a normal thing.
I
Every
agree.
No, I
time
totally
watching
agree with you,
American
Eric.
television, they all wear shoes indoors, and you find out people in the United States actually wear shoes in their house. You're like,
Yep. When I
What?
visit my aunt and uncle in the States, it's very weird because they're Asian, but they're
What's
also
wrong with them?
American. So they wear their shoes indoors. I'm like, I
your
don't like
outdoor
it.
shoes in the house, so you get outdoor on your carpets. And
I don't like that.
What?
That's a lot of
What?
cleaning you don't need to do.
At the very least, put on
Yeah.
slippers or something. Like,
Yeah. I agree. Chinelas.
Wow, we went in a weird direction, but relevant.
Mhm.
No, I totally agree with you, Eric. I think that's one of the things that I liked about the movie was that it I don't know. I don't know what this movie would have done to me early on because I feel like Double Happiness actually did affect me in a lot of ways because I saw that movie and it didn't really have a happy ending. And it just kind of had an existential ending. And I was like, yeah, that's what it's like. You're kind of like left hanging, sort of between cultures. And of course, bear in mind, I was a teenager at that time. So everything was extra dramatic. But I will admit, it's something I've been, thinking about more recently, and it sort of caught up with me. So, yeah, I think this is a movie I'm going to have to think about for a long time. But I do feel that, like you said, Eric, it's very honest without being malicious,
And
which I
not-
didn't.
And not being like sort of like hokey at the same time.
Yeah, it does a good balance between taking. I mean, okay, this is maybe a weird example, but it reminded me of Jojo Rabbit in that it took something that was possibly very ugly in history, but was very honest about it and was able to laugh at it, right? And I think that in this case, there's a lot of trauma and a lot of baggage and a lot of stuff that people carry in themselves, but they're able to, when they can sort of see what you were saying, Eric, about like actually trying to talk, because that was never really an option.
No.
Right. Like I never really thought it was an option. I still don't. I mean,
There are times
admit.
when your parents still talk, like even as a 40-year-old,
yeah.
you're just like, I don't think I can continue this conversation at this
No.
moment.
I had this conversation yesterday, and I just sat there and I listened and I nodded and I said, "Yeah, that's great," And I feel, I maybe I'm not there yet, and maybe in a couple of years you guys will hear the podcast and I'll be like, yeah, I totally had that conversation that Michelle Yeoh had, but I'm not there yet. But it's cool that it happened in a movie and also in a way that I cannot fault. Because it was fair. It was fair to the mother and it was fair to the daughter. And I think that that's at the end of the day the most important thing is that nobody really knows the whole story, but when you really cut down to like what's essential, that's what I think the film succeeded in doing.
Sorry, Dave, you were gonna go on something.
Well, okay, so you guys talked a lot about like basically expectations is a big part of it, and
right.
Because I was thinking when you brought up like the honor your parents thing, I grew up Catholic, and for some reason they still teach the Ten Commandments, even though that has nothing to do with Catholicism. I don't know if you're aware, that's a whole different covenant with God that Christians don't have, because that was the whole point of Jesus dying and returning and whatnot. But number 5 is honor thy father and thy mother. Notice it's not number 1, as it clearly is in Asian households by the sounds of it. But I also think a lot of these things we get away with in North America. Like we had literally like have more liberty, like so we get away with things. But when you talk about like the conversation where the mom's like, "You're fat" and blah blah blah, I'm like, that's the conversation like my mom had with her mom, who was an immigrant. Like I'm a second generation Canadian. My mom was born here, but her mother was born in the Netherlands. So, and there's lots of stereotypes about Dutch people too, being like, overly analytical and rude, and like
everybody's heritage culture is awful and cheap. I mean, that's something I kind of discovered. But anyway, go on.
But like, we all have more in common because we're all Canadians, right? Like it's not just that we're second or first generation. We're all Canadians. Like, I don't think of myself having a culture outside of being Canadian, but I grew up with a lot of kids who were Italian, who were and like they strongly believe in that culture, even though if they went to Italy, they would not recognize that culture at all from their own.
They know this Martin Scorsese version of Italy.
Well, no, some of them speak Italian and stuff like that, but like they're like 4th generation Italian. They're like, "Oh, I'm so Italian," and it's like, no,
you're not. No.
Like African Americans shouldn't be called African because they live in America. They've been in America. Some of these people have been in America for 400 years. Like, what are you talking about? What You know, like at that rate, we're all African, right? If you want to go back far enough, okay, we're just all African. So okay, so like it's you know I'm not like Dutch, I'm not Russian. You know, culturally, I'm Canadian, but even like I don't have all aspects of Canadian culture. So, and there's always a disconnect there between parents and kids, but I don't have that as strongly, clearly, as some other people.
Oh yeah, no, and I genuinely wasn't joking when I said like that whole Black Mirror thing. I was like happy you guys could enjoy those episodes, and I'm just like, this is fucking a nightmare for me, you know. But I'm like,
Striking Vipers is one of the best episodes of television ever made.
Damn it, so many problems. It's so good. It's so good. I agree. I agree. It's very good,
There's
guys.
Nothing
but
like texting your buddy at 3 a.m. Striking Vipers. And then seeing how they respond.
And you know what, guys? If you're in a place where you can enjoy that, you are in a good place. Just enjoy it, please. Please enjoy it. I'm not there. Hopefully, I will be one day. I'm not there.
But we all, you know, everybody has cultural trauma and cultural baggage and things like that.
Family baggage.
And I don't have a lot of that because like I essentially don't have a culture but to be fair, like I didn't have a dad growing up, and then my mom wasn't around, so like I essentially have the opposite. I didn't have parents around, right? I have the opposite. I have like total free will. And Steve, you and I are basically we're right next to each other in terms of like accomplishments, right? So it's like, what is it to me? It's like absurdist. It's like, what's the difference then?
Yeah.
What was the point in putting all that pressure? What was the point in having no pressure?
Yeah, sure.
You know? So it's just like, how do you want it? So what it comes down, when I watch a movie like this, it comes down to these people, these characters are old enough and wise enough to think about none of that shit actually matters. How you treat other people is the only thing that matters in this world. How you know to decide. But people want to go, well, I have this baggage, and it's like,
but you nailed it though. No, exactly. No, you've completely nailed it, David.
They're excuses. They're excuses.
No, absolutely. I will fully admit that's exactly what I'm like processing, and I have been processing. No, you've absolutely nailed it.
There is a meme that's going around about this movie, and it's two people on a bus, and they both say nothing matters on like a thought bubble for one of them, and they're like sort of sad and depressed, and the other one says nothing matters, and then they're like, but don't be shitty to other people. That's that's pretty much what this movie boils down to, apparently.
No, there's not that much of a difference, as David said, and I agree with him. And whatever shit I'm dealing with is largely my own shit, but it's good to understand it at least, and it gets me closer to where David is, you know.
That's why I think that's why this movie doesn't like resonate with
which is cool,
because I'm like, none of these things particularly affect me, and like I'm already past what the message of this film I think is like emotionally, like I'm past this where this is supposed to be.
No, I'm glad you can enjoy it.
I don't have any of the connections to not be past it at all or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I think like you. That's why, like, I was happy you and I kind of agree on that aspect of it, is that, like, nothing in this movie connects to us directly, but I think you and I both have an indirect connection to it in the fact that we were both raised Catholic, and we were raised by, like, a set of rules.
Asian and Catholic.
That we have over double fuck. But, like, they're not as embedded in our culture as Catholicism as it is in Asian culture. So for us, it's something that as we grow older, we're allowed to find our own voice, and we're allowed to dissent and find our own ways. Whereas I think you guys are more forced to be into certain cultural aspects. Because so for us, it's easier to escape from it.
For them, it's in the household culturally, and ours is just religion, which isn't necessarily like religion wasn't in my household. It was at school and at church, right? It never came home. But there obviously are people who aren't you and me, who are Catholic or Christian or what, you know, some kind, you know, whatever, doesn't really matter, who that might be more at home, right? Because that person is taking it from their religion and putting it in their culture and putting it in their household.
It was very prevalent in my home growing up. My parents were very, very religious, very, like, I'm not fanatical, but like they have a very strong belief in Catholicism and religion, in God and Jesus. But they were also understanding enough to, when I hit a certain age and started having my own opinions and my own thoughts on it, they were very respectful of that, and they did not force anything on me. They did not make me follow a path. They allowed me to follow my own path. And to this day, they don't like that I don't go to church. They don't like that I'm atheistic, but they respect it. Like, they at least allow it and respect it. And so that's why it's like it's polar opposites for us in this, where like we come from a culture where that's encouraged, whereas you guys come from a culture where that's very much not encouraged. It's very much frowned upon. So it's neat to watch a movie from two different perspectives.
Like, if you look at the Filipino culture, the Catholicism is so interwoven in it right now because of the Spanish occupation.
Oh boy, those Spanish!
So, the Spanish people love them. they're occupying and they're rewriting of traditions. So out of all of the Asians that are Catholic, like, Filipino people are probably some of the more devout. Like, they actually crucify people during Easter time. Like, they actually nail people up there.
Stigmata, I've seen that. Yeah,
it's very, very fucked up. But yeah, like, it's crazy how intertwined all of that is. But
can we all agree that the best Jesus is Korean jacked Jesus, right? Like, that's
what about
the best.
Buddy Jesus?
No, I like
Korean Jesus.
I like Santa Claus on the cross in Japan, where they totally fuck it up. That's the best. That's the best.
There's the Pope comes to visit. They're like, "We did it right, huh?" And the Pope's like, "Not even close."
Yeah. They also do KFC for Christmas in Japan, because like some guy thought that would
not?
be funny.
KFC is amazing,
and it
Japan
actually
is
ended
just
up
the most
becoming
forward-thinking
Christmas turkey.
country in terms of.
I guess I gotta chime in at some point.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yes,
Because I would love to know the way you watched the film, like what you like, the layers that we like. I looked at it like I was saying to Megan the other day. Like, she took it in a totally different direction than me.
Okay, so start off. I was first generation here. Both my parents were Irish immigrants.
Very Catholic.
Yeah, I know, Irish.
Very Catholic.
Right
Yeah,
there.
I guess. Except that, my family's story, if there was a movie, I would probably, say Angela's Ashes, if you guys have seen that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mostly my mom in my life. My dad was off doing, other things. We got to hang out when he took me to a pub or that, when I was 8.
Well, he's busy fighting the English,
Very
obviously.
Irish. Trying not to make Irish comments. Go on.
So we were a little less rooted in these kind of traditional things and that. Religion, my mom tried to make religion a thing for us and that, but it never took. And it's like, with Irish kids and that, it's, they eventually just buck and they start doing what they want and that. Especially in the melting pot and, or the cultural mosaic that is Canada and that, because you can't help it. It's like all your friends come from these different backgrounds and that, less rooted in like,
right,
families
Northern
and
English, Northern Europe, Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe.
A lot more freedom, a lot more autonomy in that.
All the corners of Europe.
At the same time, there tends to be a lot less direction in that, and that's where I grew up. Very directionless in that. Like high school.
You sound like you're part of Generation X.
Kind of. High school, I did not care. Like basically, I got by high school by a hair. I took a few years off in that before I even considered going to university and that, and just kind of worked and did things in that, but there wasn't the same kind of pressures that I'm hearing from like, Steve's family or Eric's family about honoring the parents and that, because like, honestly, like one parent was already checked out at that point, and the other parent was basically trying to keep like a roof over our heads and a business going and that, My approach into this movie was through Michelle Yeoh's character as a struggling business owner and that, her sitting in front of the tax lady and that with just the handfuls of receipts and that, trying to justify expenses as, secondary careers and that, when really they're just hobbies and dreams of hers,
Right.
I think which kind of lends her character that pathway into this multiverse and that, because her mind is not present there, it just keeps tuning out, and she has a lot of dreams obviously that didn't get fulfilled in that, but again, she's torn between things, between a husband, a business, a daughter, and the father.
Yeah, I want you to keep going, Hawk, but yeah, that's a really good point in that this movie is very accessible. Like it's not overburdened with the Asian stuff. Like the Asian stuff is all very real, but it's still relatable. Like it's not in its own sort of pocket, right? Which is, I think, a problem with a lot of films. So I think that's the reason why this film is making some waves, is that, yeah, it kind of taps into a lot of the stuff that a lot of people, I shouldn't say not everyone, a lot of people can have some doubts about, and some people can have confidences about, but it's real, you know? So,
yeah.
anyway,
And isn't there like something super relatable when she was viewing that movie star lifestyle, and she's like, can I go back? And you're sitting there like, who hasn't thought about, if I went this way, like, why couldn't I have been that? Like I was telling Hawk earlier, like our multimedia program that we went to school with, like so many people went in so many random ones, but there are some people like, this person's a director over at ILM now. This person just did Super Pets. Like, what? How did this happen from my program?
We're out again.
Oh, fucking hell! I was just looking over it too. Anyway,
yeah. No, it's I think we all have those moments, like not even just career wise of like, you know, what if I had done this? What would I be doing these days? I mean, we all have like just those little moments in life where like I can remember like a date I was on with this girl that I like had like the biggest crush on, and she was like the absolute dream girl, and she agreed to go on a date with me. And at the end of the date, I didn't kiss her. And now every single day after that, you kind of go back in your head and go, what if I had? What would have happened? You know, it's even little mundane
my brain
things
would go,
like that.
Oh, if I did kiss her, I'd be in prison right now for sexual assault.
I was just the thing. It's like when your brain goes, your brain goes in a million different directions, like all of these different pathways that your life could have taken on one little decision.
K-March has a good question in chat too when it's working.
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
Oh, okay.
We're on, yeah.
So what I'm guessing is we got back right at the part where I said sexual assault. That's
no. It was right before. It was right before Brent started talking about thinking about the girl. Blah blah blah. That thing.
Okay.
So it was before the sexual assault. Did someone want to read that question?
I'll do it. Yeah. So K-Marge asks, I have a question unrelated to the discussion at hand this second. The movie opens with them speaking Chinese, and then English starts to be weaved in. Then it's primarily English for the majority of the rest of the film. I was curious if you all had thoughts on that. I don't.
I do.
I do. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so when I'm at home with my sisters, it's primarily Tagalog, which is the main Filipino language. There is English interwoven in there just because that's how they speak now, because they've been in Canada for such a long time. But when my wife and my kids are there, they sort of try and do English more. But there's always a mixture of Filipino or Tagalog in there at times. So I know we go in and out of, or they go in and out of Tagalog whenever the situation has. So that's what I sort of saw in this movie, because there's a lot of mixed cultures throughout it. So it's not necessarily all Mandarin. I don't know if it was Mandarin, right?
That's what I was going to comment on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all the time. So yeah, Steve, go for it. Your turn.
Yeah, so this was an interesting movie because it's something that I've never been super aggressive about, but I have noticed because, growing up, there were a lot of people who didn't really speak Chinese, who would speak Chinese, and it was like really obvious, but it's like, what are you going to do, right? I mean, there's how many Chinese actresses or actors, you know, it was like, you know, Ming Na, and that was it, right? I mean, she's it, right? Or Gong Li, right? Like literally, right?
Yeah.
So actually, if you're interested, Michelle Yeoh is from Malaysia, and I'm not exactly sure what her Chinese dialect would be, but sorry, what was the father's actor's name? Wow,
Ki Hui Quan.
Ki Hui Quan, yeah.
Yeah. So no. The father of Michelle Yeoh,
James Hong.
James Hong. Yeah. James Hong is from Hong Kong, so he speaks Cantonese. Everybody else in the movie actually spoke Mandarin, which I thought was very interesting, but not out of the realm of realism. So I feel like at least on that level, the husband spoke Mandarin, so the wife spoke Mandarin.
In real life, Michelle Yeoh speaks Cantonese.
Yeah,
apparently.
But it made more sense for her to speak Mandarin with her husband, who speaks Mandarin. And James Hong only speaks Cantonese, so he only spoke Cantonese. Now, this is not something that's totally impossible. People do nowadays blend some of those dialects, but it was actually something that I did notice that the movie did pay attention to, and
they just used like both.
They use both, but in appropriate situations. In appropriate situations. So whenever the wife was speaking to the husband, it was in Mandarin. The daughter couldn't speak worth shit, so that's fine because that was part of the character. That's part of the character. She was trying to speak Cantonese. Cantonese is very hard, but the father of Michelle Yeoh's character spoke Cantonese, and that's fine. That's fine. That's actually it is realistic. And I'm
glad we got that question because that's not a detail that I would have ever picked up on.
It's not.
I just assumed it was. I assumed it was traditional movie trope of like introduce them speaking Mandarin or Cantonese and everything to establish like the culture, but then quickly shift to English because look at the audience we're trying to appeal to.
I feel like that's important because the amount of people who speak these languages, and if we were watching a movie where the parents were both supposed to be French and one person spoke French and the other one spoke Spanish, you'd be like, this is not right.
Like,
this is true.
And it's interesting because like if you watch, like the Filipino people are slowly making their way on TV and movies, which is really strange for me because I've never seen a Filipino person like growing up on like other than Lou Diamond Phillips. We never spoke Tagalog. No one even knew he was Filipino.
No, I didn't.
I think everybody assumed he was like Mexican or something, right? Like
I always assumed he was Indian.
I thought he was Native American because he's always playing Native American.
Because of Young Guns, right?
Exactly. Also, he played. He was in La Bamba.
Yeah. Who was the girl from Wayne's World?
Tia Carrere.
She's also Filipino. So like these are two Filipino people I knew growing up.
Isn't James Hong Isn't James Hong is movie dad to Tia Carrere as well?
Yep, he was.
That's hilarious.
But they were
hilarious.
He was in Wayne's World?
And that's
yeah.
I always thought she was Cantonese because she always played Cantonese characters.
Yeah.
Because in Wayne's World she plays a Cantonese character.
That's true.
No, that's a total stereotype.
That's an ignorance on me from like I'm not raised in that culture. I'm raised by Hollywood culture teaching me about
few
Asians.
Asians.
But now you're actually hearing these different dialects in films too. Like Spider-Man No Way Home had Tagalog in it, which I was dying laughing in the theaters, but no one around me was because it was a fully white theater. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend had a Filipino family in there. Like it was a Hawaiian person speaking Tagalog, which was a little weird, but and wrong. But no one would notice that other than a Filipino person.
Yeah, no. So to answer the question in the chat, this was actually fairly accurate. It's not impossible, and they were very consistent with it because I will say there were. Maybe I won't name the movie. There was another movie where the son spoke Cantonese and the father spoke Mandarin, and that didn't make any sense. All right, in this movie, it makes sense because she's married,
especially like in the situation when they're in the IRS and they're speaking together, and then the English is mixing in with the Like it felt so real. It was crazy.
I'll also say about Cantonese too. Cantonese is primarily it's Canton province, so it's like a corner of China. So it's not just Hong Kong, but Hong Kong people mostly speak Cantonese, but it's actually a bigger chunk of the country. Those people, especially Hong Kongers, mix in English all the time. So it's actually very common for them to be like throwing in weird English versions of words.
Do they have Filipino will call it Taglish when it's a mixture of English and Tagalog? Do they have something that they say? That
for sure. Yeah, Hong Kong people always say like, I'm going to take the basu, which means like, the bus, or I'm going to get a ball, which is a ball, But yeah, there's some very similar, like they create phonetic.
I know.
I like that question. That was a good question.
Might not actually be able to answer this question in any, but I wonder if the Chinese country, China, will be able to unify its culture enough to get most people speaking one language at some point. Because I think one thing people don't realize is that before Napoleon, there were 48 dialects in France.
Yeah.
And now most people in France just speak Parisian French.
Yeah.
But you think about national identity, a big part of national identity is speaking. a big part of national identity is actually having people speak one language.
That's what the Spanish did to the Philippines. 7,000 islands.
Eric, they did it. They did it to a lot of people.
No, but I'm saying like the Philippines islands are the most separated, or at least the most of them, because there's 7,000 of them, and and there were so many dialects that I think this, because of one of the bigger islands had this one, they sort of mixed it with Spanish, and that's how Tagalog came about. But there's other major languages there too. Thanks.
Just sort of address this very quickly.
I know it's not related to the movie or anything, but David is genuinely curious.
China, I believe, has at least 22 different ethnic groups, like the greater, what we consider China. So it's complicated. And in fact, we were sort of talking about this earlier about, Hero, the movie. In fact, that actually comes up in the movie because they're like actually trying to reduce the number of dialects in that film by destroying entire languages, written languages. It's a problem. That's very interesting. I'm just going to bring it back to the question, which is to say there are 2 dialects in this movie and they make sense for the purposes of the movie. And trying to unify all of China under one written and spoken language is that's political.
I mean, we know it works to have 2 because Canada's got English and French, right? We know it works.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
I'm gonna again say that Joy not being able to speak properly is so true for us, like a first generation immigrant or second generation, whatever. Like that felt so real.
I wanted to add this one minor detail because I thought it'd be funny for people who don't understand. So the grandfather, the father of Michelle Yeoh's character, is called Gong Gong. That's sort of like a, what you'd call like your nana, right? It's like a nickname, right? Like it's a nickname for grandfather. However, in Cantonese, that's your grandfather on your mother's side, which is to say the father of your mother.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's specific. It's so freaking ridiculous because Cantonese actually has a totally separate list of names for people on the mother's side versus the father's side. So she is Michelle Yeoh's father, and it sounds cute, and it is meant to be sort of cute.
So Michelle Yeoh, Evelyn's talking about how he and she is one pronoun in, was it Mandarin or Cantonese?
I think it's the same. To be honest, I don't know the language. What's the right term? Etymology? I don't know.
Yeah, the history of a word is etymology.
I don't want
not to be confused with entomology.
But
and when she confused with edamame.
Delicious.
But when she was making the jokes about like the he/she thing, that is actually fairly accurate. Yeah,
just one.
Yeah,
I like that
one pronoun.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, and it was accurate. Yeah.
So one sec, to speak to Steve's thing about like using like a nickname like Gong Gong, is I recently just realized, because growing up, with Dutch ancestry, we called my grandparents on my mom's side Oma and Opa, which is also in German. But that is like Ma and Pa. It's not. It's actually like Grootvader and like
interesting.
Like
in
but
Dutch,
we never use that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Because my kids call their grandmother Oma on Megan's, because Megan's
Dutch.
Dutch.
So that's either German or
Megan's
Dutch.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Gong Gong is very specific, though. It does definitely means the father on the mother's side. It's specific. Yeah, on the male side, it would be yeah. So Gong Gong and yeah, it's totally different. That's the same person except on the father's side or the mother's side. So,
actually different. I mean, immediately. That's useful.
Oh yeah. No, I always thought if I was smarter, I'd make an app for that, because I'm sure there's whole generations of people younger than me who are like, holy crap, I don't know who this person is, because there's specific titles for like third, fourth, fifth, aunt, uncle, like son of whatever. Anyway,
I don't know if people noticed. Family is very important.
Yeah.
What would they refer to someone who has mustard ejaculating hot dog fingers?
Okay, so I had a question about that. Was it coming out of their fingers? I was wondering if that.
Yes.
Yes.
They were ejaculating mustard and ketchup.
I wasn't sure if it was coming out of their mouths and then going onto their fingers. That, like, I didn't know where it was coming from, other than the mouth or the fingers. So I'm glad that got. That
is one of the things I enjoyed about the movie, where we didn't really. I don't know if we haven't really talked about the movie. I think.
What the movie's done is prompts all sorts of discussions.
I do enjoy it.
I like that they went like because like, we saw like Doctor Strange, like 2 weeks ago we talked about it, and it's like, ooh, another dimension. In one dimension, they're paint. And this movie's like, in one dimension, it gets real fucking weird. And I'm like,
I was gonna say
there were more dimensions in this movie than the multiverse of madness.
Yeah, I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, but Multiverse of Madness is one of the worst marketed movies. I like the movie. I had a great time, but it is limited in multiverse and madness. Just go see the movie, enjoy it for what it is.
But if you recall from that podcast, go ahead.
It's a much better title than Doctor Strange and the.
It could have been Doctor Strange and the Broken Watch. So that would have been accurate. I mean,
if you recall in that podcast, I mentioned the fact that I am not the person in an alternate dimension, right? We do not share a consciousness. In this movie, one of the contrivances is that you do share consciousness across the dimensions, that you were somehow bonded. And I said in multiverse, I'm like, you're not. That doctor's like, that's not your Rachel. Like, you could go to that dimension and fall in love with that Rachel if you want, but that's not the same person. That's a different person.
It's not like there was something in your life that made you change into a different direction. Like, these are all branching off of each other. It's sort of like Loki more, right?
Well, in Loki, like, that's a big part of multiversal theory, right? Is that every time you make a decision in your life, a new universe is created where you make all these different decisions. And there's an I could just suddenly jump up and down right now, and I don't. And then I move my hand this way. And every single one of those things creates a branch in the multiverse, right? But what you have to do is you're not those people. Those people are not you. You are not connected to them anymore.
I mean, that was the whole point of the earpiece, right? Is that this was the Deus Ex, device, and that connects.
But you could only jump into your own body until you didn't have to anymore in this movie, where someone jumped into someone else's body at some point, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, but
I don't.
That's the thing.
Recall that.
Okay.
I know that.
I know what you mean.
She didn't need the devices to jump in between them, but I don't remember anyone jumping in between a different persona.
I thought the husband jumped into someone else's body at one point.
No, it was always him, but in different hymns.
Yeah. Okay. Different versions of him.
I love that the way to get into jumping into another, or like downloading other people's consciousness, they had to do something super fucking weird. Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but when we saw when I was in the theater and he started doing the paper cut thing, everyone was like cringing, like just the up close shot, like it was shot so beautifully and so fucking weird.
I've worked in so many warehouses. I've had paper cuts in all the worst places you can imagine.
Yeah, cardboard paper cuts are the fucking worst.
But when he was like taking gum from under the desk, and it was like peeing your pants is a good one. Yeah, because like these are things that are not like you wouldn't normally do in this situation, but there is a version of the like you do that somewhere else in the universe. That's the idea, is that doing that action is because it's so far. Like they talk about your local cluster in the multiverse. I'm like, that's cool. That list is not big enough. They showed like 6. I'm like, that's not a big enough list.
I think it was just for that one moment though, like her doing.
But I'm telling you, that's
not.
You could. I adjusted my glasses to the left instead of the right. Like all those things become a new universe.
There is one little thing about that though, where you're saying that like because like they do these bizarre things because in that universe those things are regular. But at the very beginning, because I rewatched the first half of it because I kind of dozed a little bit the first time I watched it. But I went back and rewatched it, and right at the beginning he says, like, confronts her in the elevator and says, you have 2 choices when you walk off. You can go to the audit or you can go to the closet. And she chooses to go to the audit and then reads the instructions that say, okay, now put your shoes on the opposite feet and think about being in the closet. So she's changing to that alternate universe that would have went to the closet. But then why did she have to change? What is the significance of changing her shoes around?
Well, that was clearly like a symbology, right? Of like, or symbolism. It's the symbology there of literally he's saying like in movie terms, the shoe's on the other foot, right? Like, hey, let's see, you see what it's like going the other way. The shoe's on the other foot. That's fair. I think that's all they were doing.
It was actually. I felt that the film indicated that was a trigger, like all the sort of weird actions their versions take to kind of disassociate with their own reality in order to connect. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm okay with that. With that being the idea that it's to disconnect from their reality. I'm just sort of elaborating off of what Dave said, bro. It being like the actions that they're doing have significance in the reality that they're transferring to.
Yeah, there's so many like almost micro branches that would exist, but you would all still end up getting to very similar places, which is why like you have to do something big to get somewhere else that's so significantly different, right? Like, how do you get to a universe where you're Tom Cruise basically, and it's like, okay, well, fuck, what's the version of Tom Cruise me doing right now?
And I gotta say, I have shoved a lot of things up my ass this weekend, and I do not know kung fu.
You know, that was what that scene.
That was some kung fu hustle shit right there.
But the scene that preceded it with her, you know, because with the awards that she had on her desk and that, weren't we all sitting there looking at those awards thinking, you know,
That's
what that looks like?
Bump. Yeah, exactly.
No, I was thinking that at the time when I saw it, but there was no significance behind it because we hadn't been introduced to that aspect of it yet.
No one thought it was
then
going
when
to
it
go
comes
there.
back later, I'm like, oh,
good.
goddamn.
These directors definitely understand movie language, I think. And like that's one of those things where it's like some people are going to pick up on that thing and some people won't, right? That it's going to be significant later.
I got to ask too if anyone else picked up on this. I didn't catch it right away. I caught it during the dominatrix scene when she's the maid in that office. But if we notice the song, The Story of a Girl, that every time it's played in the movie in a different multiverse, it has different lyrics.
I did not notice that.
I noticed it when they were coming out, when they had the dominatrix scene where they're coming out, and the last line was the safe word is girl. And I'm like, that's not the line. And I went back and listened to it again, and I was like, I think they reworked the lyrics to be about domineering. And then I went back and I kept hearing other versions of it throughout the movie where they changed the lyrics to match the universe they're in. I was like, that is fucking awesome.
I think overall we've gone like way off like whatever the movie's about, and we're talking about all these sort of things.
I mean, this is all in
the movie. Like we're discussing the movie in every way. Like,
and that's sort of what actually I was trying to bring it back to, is to say that this is a movie that's very well thought out, and it's very. Like, that's the thing. It's relatable even for people who don't have, you know, a huge amount of Catholic or Asian guilt. You know, like it's something that you can
you can have Jewish guilt if you want.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Dave, Midnight Mass was for us. This is for them.
Yes. Exactly that. Yeah.
Right, I'll have to check out Midnight Mass. I'll get back to you.
I keep thinking every time I see it on Netflix, I'm like, I could watch it all again right now. I can not go to class and watch it all again right now.
Oh, I so want to.
If we haven't, if there's nothing that has made the listener here want to watch this movie that we've talked about so far, there is one thing that you should watch this movie for, and it's Quan.
Oh God, he's so good.
As
he's very good.
As Wayman Wang.
I had to Google the fact that Waymond is a real name, and I was like, "This feels like
is that actually?" Wrong. No, I actually thought his name was Raymond.
That's what he said. He said he's setting booby traps.
Yeah. So
Waymond is a real name.
This is his first movie back in like 20 something years.
Really?
He stopped acting in the late 90s because he was having a hard time finding roles because he's Asian, and people were like, they don't want to cast any Asian
It's a huge fucking injustice because he's a phenomenal actor.
So he went into the stunt department. He actually did the stunts for X-Men, and then he went behind the scenes for a little bit. He actually went away from the movie thing, and then he decided to start coming back because he started getting a following on Twitter. And this was the movie that he came back in, his first movie that he filmed, coming back from his hiatus from 2000.
I didn't know that.
If they were to do a Shang-Chi movie in the early 2000s, just imagine
if he wasn't
Quan
like, he was so like, if you could not feel for this character, I don't know what you're doing. Like, he was everything.
Everyone in this movie was essential in their particular roles, even when they were being silly, but especially when they were being serious. And he threaded a very, very difficult needle. Sorry, go ahead.
He reminded me of Jerry from Rick and Morty, but not pathetic, essentially. Where it's like, he cares so much, but like he can't make things work a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like,
he had that really rough job because like he had to basically be able to drop character and then have it like another like a more confident alpha persona.
Like, oh my God.
He and the daughter had like that. They were the only ones in the movie that really had that dual role of being like he's almost the narrator at the beginning of the role, and then at the end he's the one who like ties everything together, like brings the message forward in the movie.
Yeah,
the heart, man. Like when like he was just fighting for his family the whole time, for his wife, and it was just like seeing
he just
him
believes.
talk to,
He just believes in it. You know?
seeing him talk to the Jamie Lee Curtis at the end in the laundromat, you can see
Curtis.
you can just see him. Yeah, we'll get to her. Like,
what a strange role she played. She
when
was
she was sitting at the desk and you saw the rolls, I'm like, did they put a fat suit on her? And yeah, you
genuinely
did.
when there was like, you know, basically like not, I wouldn't necessarily call her fat, but not in shape Jamie Lee Curtis, and I was like, doesn't she do like
Slouching.
fucking like yogurt commercials and shit? Like, isn't she like super fit for her age?
No,
And
that
then you
was-
see that one
that
scene where
was
it's like it all
definitely
goes in. You're like, there it is.
Yeah, she was slouching. Yeah.
Oh,
She was
she just
freaking
did, She just did
amazing.
she had Halloween Kills just like last year and that super skinny in that.
I never watched it.
That was
No, that was Halloween Kills, Jamie Lee Curtis plus like Freaky Friday. She's just really good, and like I was very delighted. I didn't know she was in this movie, and I was so delighted to see her, and I was so delighted to see how her part just kept getting bigger and bigger as well, because she's so good. She's so much fun. Yeah, no, she's great.
And her fights, like it looked like her, like doing the actual stunts, and I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Apparently, she did a lot of her stunts in True Lies, so I don't doubt that she still wants to do that.
But that was 25 years ago, so
That's fair.
I think it was more than 25 years.
Oh
ago.
Don't say that shit. Don't say that shit.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about.
almost
got enough.
30.
I've got enough.
Like
Just-
97.
I've got enough.
94, so that's 20.
Okay, guys, I told you not to. I already have enough existential nihilistic crap on my plate, and you had to go back. You had to go there.
I do
You know,
want
in
to make
another universe, Steve, you don't care about any of that shit.
It's true.
Seinfeld ended 24 years ago.
I do want this to be conversational. So if there's anything you guys want to talk about, like there were a number of scenes that just made the audience cheer, like the 2001 sequence with the hot dog hands.
I did like that. I did like the bit where it was just like one monkey with sausage fingers kills another monkey with like normal fingers, and it's like on that Earth, that's what went down. That's what I love about Rick and Morty, because that's usually the only show that does multiverse stuff that's really gonna go hard on the absurdism. And this movie did a good job of it.
I don't think I laughed any harder than the Pinata universe. That killed me.
Go ahead, Hog.
How about the universe where basically Evelyn and Raymond are living in a Wong Kar-wai film?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, I totally caught that. No, I have to admit, I got to keep saying this. I'm so happy for people who can just enjoy this movie as like some fantasy movie, and I have to fully.
Oh my God! I did not expect that to actually.
I did not expect that to be actually real. Yeah, that was amazing.
And for Harry Shum Jr. to be the chef.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I haven't even fully comprehended the ramifications of that. Yeah, no, it's a movie that goes for it and in such a genuine way that you can't help but enjoy it, whether or not you even get all those references. I didn't even know that, but it's just a very genuine movie, and I'm really happy that they were able to put something like this together.
It did something that I can't believe a movie did, which was it kept constantly introducing these ridiculous concepts purely for humor, like the Raccacoonie and the hot dog fingers and the rocks, and they're introduced as comedic moments, and they find a way, each and every one of them, to turn them into highly emotional points in the movie.
Well, it's because
I was literally like
core
almost in
message.
tears going, Raccacoonie, get him back. Like,
it's so ridiculous, but the core message is still genuine, right? So as ridiculous as they go, it's sort of like, it like, that's why maybe it was dark for me to compare it to Jojo Rabbit, but the reason I chose Jojo Rabbit is obviously it's a fairly dark movie, but even though it's not historically accurate, I came up with sort of this term of describing it as historically honest. So even though it's go ahead. Sorry.
It's a fair comparison in that when you consider like World War II in that, whereas the time like existentialism sprung from World War II in that, because the time of that, like life and death and that, they almost like, it had meaning, but yet people thought like, if so many people can just die, really is no
Do you think
meaning
it was
to
World War
life.
II, World War One that maybe did that though?
Yeah, maybe World War One,
or maybe that because to be fair though, it's like kind of like one long conflict.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can just argue.
And that's the question this movie was trying to tackle in that, it's like, what is, essentially, is there meaning to life in that, and if you just embrace this philosophy in that has no meaning in that,
well, that's
then...
why that meme is the dichotomy, right? It's nihilism, but also existentialism. It's right. Like life has no meaning. It's like, no, I choose what meaning life has. I like that's the way I am is like, yeah, life has no meaning except the meaning I attribute to it. So I choose in my life what has meaning and what doesn't.
And I never thought that meaning, or that at least that lesson, would have been taught by two rocks on the Grand Canyon.
You know what, man?
And then even that turns in so effing emotional. Like she's so just powerful. Trying to get to her, and the daughter's like, "No, I would rather plunge myself from this cliff than have you hug me right now. Like that's what you mean to me."
I don't want to exaggerate my existence because of the fact that I did fail the Chinese 6-pack, and then I did go into English and philosophy in university because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but that was like the perfect culmination of my life, like it was just like so absurd. I mean, that's it. That's the thing, right? It was the absurdness of it. And the fact that it just kind of embraced it and just said, you know what, it's all good. Right. And I think that there's very few movies that can get away with taking all that sort of pain and disappointment and whatever weird emotions you might have with your family or your or your parents and make it like, what's important is they care, at the end of the day, and I think that's why the movie succeeds. I think like bring it back. I mean, I think that's why the movie is just. Yeah, it's not too heavy-handed. It makes fun of itself, but in a way that I think makes sense, to most people. So, yeah.
I will also give this film credit for giving Michelle Yeoh a vehicle to showcase how amazing she has been. I don't recall her actually being a leading role in a Western film, at least this as the main character.
I didn't see Crazy Rich Asians. She was in that too.
She was
right?
not the main character.
No?
No, she was the mother. So
she's a mother. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's not just the fact that Michelle Yeoh is Asian and being the lead in a Western film. It's also that she's a woman. Yes. Well, she's 59. Yeah. So I was going to say over 60, but she's not. But she's 59, which usually, especially in Hollywood, it's like, oh, you're over 40? Bye. Right? Like they're real hard about that, and she does a great job.
Yeah, she
this
plays
film.
a good job.
And it almost feels like that's what Hollywood did to her, though, because like she was constantly getting the roles as like the sexy Asian female next to Jackie Chan or next to in this Bond movie and that. And then as soon as she hit a certain age, it was like, get rid of her. We don't need her anymore.
I think the first time I saw her back was in Star Trek Discovery, and like she was gone for years before then. Or at least I don't remember seeing her.
I think basically she is a testimony to persistence in that, because even when you didn't see her, she was out there working at some point in that, and it was just about kind of keeping your nose down and just outlasting everybody.
Yeah, I would think not to take away from the achievements of any of these people, but I also think with the rise of streaming and the amount of content that we're now able to create and put out there, I wouldn't say consume. Like Mike Myers just got a fucking movie again, and you're like.
The series,
what?
Right? Like, the Pentamverate.
That series,
right? It's like it doesn't really matter, and because it never should have, right? But the bandwidth we now have to give all these people vehicles is where it basically should have been. All these phenomenally talented people, doesn't matter how old they are, we can finally get it's not they're stuck in a specific role. We finally can give all these people, the accolades and the attention they deserve.
Yeah, that's what Hawk was saying. The persistence. Yeah, the persistence shows through in this movie.
But I think that doesn't necessarily take work without all these services, because we obviously have huge big budget movies who sometimes we get people like that, right? But for the most, this movie wouldn't have been made 20 years ago because it was like they were only making $20 to $100 million budgets, right? And now they're like, well, we don't make anything for less than $500 million, and then it's only like A24 and Blumhouse, right, who will make the $20 million and under.
The risk. We'll take the risk.
But the more successful these studios are, the more movies like this we'll get too.
I mean, to bring it back to what I was saying at the beginning, I praise Shang-Chi as a movie that all Asian parents should take their kids to, just to see Asians being jackasses like everybody else in MCU, because it's important, right? It's just normalization. You don't have to be a math wizard. You can just be some
it's good
Joe
for
Schmo.
Kids to see. Like, I don't think this is a kids movie for Asians. Definitely teenagers.
Yeah, but that was the thing. I just, at the same time, I didn't want to knock the movie, but I was like, yeah, but you know what? It's not going to be the movie that people remember. This one, maybe. You know what? This one maybe might be the one. This might be the one that actually took something that was like a huge baggage and turned it into something positive. Because it doesn't have to be baggage, right? Like what David has sort of proved, right? It doesn't have to be, but somehow there's that little bit of a niggling, like, I don't know if I can really say this thing in front of my parents, right? And that's what it takes, right? It takes someone to actually do it, even in a movie, right? To just say, this is my girlfriend, So, I feel like this was a movie that took that one extra step, and yet still not in a heavy-handed way. It's a beautiful movie, and everyone does a really great job. And I had a great time, and it's a good movie.
Yeah, for sure. Does anyone want to talk about? Are there any other themes we haven't touched upon? It's hard to think about.
Yeah,
there's so much in this movie, and yet so like I don't
know
if
the kind of thing where I almost don't want to talk too much more about it, because I want to leave as much of this for people to experience themselves.
It's hard because we have, like, we've talked about our experiences, but there's like I can't talk for Megan, because Megan had a totally different experience for me, like her mother, daughter, and then her and her mother. Like, I would love to know how it affected her.
I think this actually perfectly kind of sums up the dichotomy of the film, is that, like, this movie can have a ton of meaning for you, or it can have none.
Yeah.
Right?
What it does right. That's
like,
the
and it is entirely dependent on the individual observer.
But it's honest, and that's the important thing. It might not mean anything to you at all. It might just be a fun kind of like ridiculous ride, or it might be the most quintessential movie for you since Double Happiness, which is what it was for me, which is a kind of a trauma, I will fully admit. But I will think on that.
The two people that wanted to be on here but couldn't, Marcus and Brittany, they both said that they both loved it, and they're both like it both affected them in different ways. Brittany, which is she's a workshop. She's having fun.
We have to think about that. No, for sure. I'm going to definitely be thinking on this for a while. And like I said, like, of the movies I've watched in the past year, like, this is one of the three that's kind of like struck me, and I'm gonna create some sort of like wordy Steve Chu. Like,
we'll come back to this in a couple of months, and we'll just be like, we've been thinking about this for 6 months straight. Yeah. And Dave will be like, I forgot about that movie.
I'll reference
it. I'm gonna forget this podcast ever happened.
When we talk about Lord of the Rings, we'll reference it.
Let's end this podcast with our favorite scene in the movie. Brent, is there a favorite scene that you liked?
I honestly think we might have gone.
Just say
you know what, the scene, like the one that got me the most emotionally is at the end when she's fighting her way up the staircase and fighting each and every one of them by triggering a memory that they love, and just like that being the epiphany of, or like that being like the culmination of Ke Huy Quan's character, like. And just that's what he brought forth and everything. It was just she's bawling.
Fighting, but she's not fighting like in the normal way you fight.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was wonderful. Dave,
I don't know if I have a favorite scene, but there is a line that sticks with me that I find is one of the most absurd lines of the film. Is also probably I found hilarious because it's so absurd. But when the daughter goes, "It's not just a donut," right? She's like, "It's also bubble." And I'm like, "It's not just it's like this swirling mass of black, like nothingness." It's like
bagel.
It's not.
Bagel.
It's not. I'm sorry. It's not just a
it's
bagel.
An everything bagel.
Like it's not. Well, it's not. Oh, really? It's not just a bagel. Like, okay.
Huck.
I don't know. I loved that. That tickled me.
It was a visual sequence, probably towards the end of the film. In that. It was just like the editing and sound design behind it was incredible in that. I think Michelle was started to live like these lives just faster and faster and faster, and that it seemed to go on forever in that. But just like the editing and the way the music was done over it, it was incredible in that. you know,
Is that the one where they turn into paper?
I think so.
The drawing
Like
sequence.
animation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I was.
Yeah,
trying
because
to
there's.
fast forward.
I think it is. It's the sequence at the end, and it's flashing through all of it, where it flashes back to like the rocks, it flashes to the pinatas, it flashes to the animation. Like,
yeah, it's like it's at once like cacophonous, and at the same
Yeah.
time, it's so sharply done. And that I don't know if we've mentioned in that, but like there was a lot of behind the scenes talent from Marvel on this film.
Yeah,
you know,
I was
with
saying
Russo-
the Marshall Club, that the three
Right.
brothers that were
Yeah.
YouTubers.
Yeah, and also like the Russo brothers were in like
They're
I noticed.
producers. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they had the same effects guy from the Marvel MCU series and that doing this
Really?
too. Yeah.
I hope Corridor Crew does a thing on this because that would be awesome.
Oh, for sure. I really hope
they
for
have
that
to.
too.
All right, Steve,
Anyways.
what's yours?
I had it and I lost it because like this is a movie that I guess for me just I don't know, it's maybe it's something I've been waiting for, you know. I mean, I guess I grew up in a generation where, you know, I just kind of accepted like, oh yeah, I'm Asian, I'm sort of, you know, part of like a respected but secondary group, and I don't know, I still have to work my way through this movie. I don't know what else
No,
to say. It really
I think I understand what you mean about that as an Asian minority. We're sort of like the there's a theory called the model minority. We're the model minority because we're the Asian proper people, right? But we're also seen as less. I don't know if that's what you felt.
maybe not. Yeah, for sure. No, I just kind of accepted. I mean, just as an analogy, I guess, to demonstrate this, I remember I had a friend in university who was talking about like, oh yeah, the squeaky wheel gets removed, right? And I was saying like, you know what, like that's kind of like the only place, you know, for Asians, you know, is just to be the squeaky wheel, right? So I get that it will get removed, but you see, like, I mean, even that statement is so loaded, right?
Yeah.
Like I can tell right now saying that now, because that was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So a lot's changed. And like, yeah, no, it's funny, like how baggage works. Yeah, so I don't know what to say about the movie. I mean, I'm just going to step back and just say, it's a fun movie.
All of it
It's
is your favorite scenes?
It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. Like I think it carried something that could be maybe overburdening or too heavy really well, and it was fun. And I'm glad everyone in the movie had fun with it. And yeah, I'm gonna have to think
Everyone
about
was
it.
very, very passionate about
To be
it.
fair, we've had 3 days to process this movie. He's had 3 hours.
Yeah, I've had the most out of all of you guys because I've had like a week and something.
2 hours to process it, let alone maybe an hour. Yeah,
Nothing to process for me.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. Genuinely.
For favorite sequences with me, it would be the Andy Lee fight with his brother and Evelyn and the butt plugs. That was everything.
Something else.
It was unexpected. It was well choreographed. The fighting was just top notch.
I think it would need to be well choreographed for
Yeah.
safety reasons.
I will say from the perspective of someone who's not as invested in like the meat of it. Yeah, no, the movie is just really super well shot. And if you're going to use like Michelle Yeoh, you might as well like, you know, fucking use her in all kinds of awesome action scenes.
You should see the behind the scenes of that sequence, like when they're training it. It's so good, like so good. I'm gonna give out one more scene just because I thought it was the emotional heart for me was when she was going through all the different universes and seeing her husband like fight for her in each one of them. Like I love that sequence. I think it shows how good Quan was and how devastating it is that we never got to see him act for the last 20 years. Like that sequence alone was just like, fuck, this man needs all the roles now. Just give it to him. He's wonderful. Make a Goonies too or something. I don't know.
Just kills me, man. Oh god damn it, man. Eric, you just added a whole extra dimension of suffering for me.
I would rather watch him in a, you know how they're doing Indiana Jones again? I would watch him
Indiana Jones
way
in the
more
Temple
than
of the Doom Mirror.
I said that in the Dead Ice chat when I was
that
like,
you?
man, I don't want to fuck another Harrison Ford. I want Hey Quan.
Yeah,
being,
fuck
I want
yeah.
a short round movie.
Give me a short round.
In case you don't know, yes, the lead is Short Round. He's the no time for love, Dr. Jones.
How could you not? His voice has not changed since he was
There,
a
I
child.
was sitting there
but none of
watching
us
him
were
and
allowed to
thinking,
say it.
I
We were
know,
leaving that
I
for
know
Steve.
this man. Who is this?
I actually didn't know until you just lined it all up.
The thing is, he was so young in that role that, you know, he
Yeah.
doesn't have to speak like that anymore if he were to continue playing Short Round if he didn't want. Like, they could, you know, his accent would have been malleable enough at that age that he could speak.
It really is amazing. No, that's a really good point about how like he didn't really do anything for all these years. Because I mean,
he did stuff. He did a lot of stuff. It wasn't on camera.
Yeah.
Right.
He
It wasn't frozen in carbonate.
He did, so he came back for this movie. It's his first film role, and then he did a second movie called Finding Ohana, which is sort of like a Goonies-esque movie it's on Netflix, but it's set in Hawaii. Okay. So he's a secondary character, but he joined that movie purely because of the love of the directors for Goonies. And
I have a reboot idea. I just thought of this. Can we get Double Dragon with Kehe Quan and Mark Dacascos?
Yes.
Let's go.
Oh my God, yes. And then also bring back Alyssa Milano.
Can we bring in Scott Wolf at the beginning just to kill him?
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
make him the bad guy. Make him the
other
bad
one?
guy.
No, because then he's in the movie. You kill him at the beginning. You
Who's
show
the
a
other guy?
photo
It
of
was
him
Mark
and say
Dacascos.
he's dead.
Mark Dacascos? Yeah, he was.
It was Mark Dacascos. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's
Robert Patrick Kogashuko, played by Robert Patrick.
Bring him back as the bad guy. That'd be amazing.
That movie was so bad, guys. That was terrible.
Great game, though.
Ohana does mean family, Hardcraft. Ohana does mean family.
Never seen Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, it's lovely. Okay, thanks guys for coming out and talking about everything everywhere all at once. Like this movie, fuck man, so good. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. We'll be back in a couple weeks, probably talking about Wait, are we watching Obi-Wan this week?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, Friday. Fuck yes.
As long as Harcroft and I can swap out the video cards in this computer fast enough, I will be home to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, both of them. Are we gonna watch together and then?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Fuck yeah, okay, let's do it Friday.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing comes in the way. Hopefully
So you're
no one else
hoping
gets
just
sick.
to watch everything that Obi-Wan Kenobi was ever in before that?
Yeah, including the Clone Wars and Train Spotting, especially Train Spotting.
No, I don't know. I didn't say Ewan McGregor. I said
Train Spotting 2.
I said Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Start playing Lego Star Wars.
Lego Star Wars is such a good game. It might be the best Star Wars game. Anyway, that's not important. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for coming. We'll talk to you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for us this week on Geeks with Kids. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.